finally back to normal. Hub is driving. I'm a passenger. We have picked up our paper pumpkin and we are on our way home. So stay tuned for more paper pumpkin fun. Hey, this is Tracy Lewis with Stuff and Things, and I am now home. This month's paper pumpkin is called Batter Up. I haven't really looked. Sometimes I do see things about the kits, but this time I did not. So we have Night of Navy Stampin' Spot. Oh, double bubble baseball gum. And we've got, here, look at this, so you can see it. Ever, Grandpa, Dad, Son, Uncle, Friend, Brother, Greatest, You're the Greatest of All Time, You're the Best, All-Star, Mom, a baseball hat, and a bat. And let's see what fun new things we're going to get in this kit. Last month it was shaped cards, which was the first time I'd ever seen that. So we've got some resin dots in yellow and red, white twine, dimensionals, envelopes that are all, and this is only a partial, so, and it's got some adhesive on it, so the part that we get to use of these strips is just what you see here, less the gum. And I see 8 envelopes. And some labels, little ones, double-sided dots. Maybe we have 9. We've got 3 of those. Oh, we've got 3. So it must be 9, because then we have 3 wood grain and 3 lined. So here's the 3 different card bases. Some very large cutouts. These are non-sticky. I am undoing 2, by the way. There, it looks like there are 3 sheets of these die cuts. So, lots of large die elements to play with. Back in the day, I actually was a baseball / softball fan, though I haven't done anything with either in many years, and I don't have any children, so I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to get out of this kit for my own personal use, but I will still be able to come up with some great alternatives. So let's take a peek at the instructions. Now, I did read where the instructions are changing. Let's see if this is the first edition. Yes, so the new instructions, this is pretty important for those who are beginners and are using these instructions. They have bolder lettering indicating that this is the instruction sheet. Normally on the inside, you always saw your instructions in black and white. Notice everything is in color. It also shows you in addition to, if I open this up all the way, in addition to the assembly instructions in color for each of the 3 different card types, it also shows you all of the components that you're going to use to make the 3 different card types. So this should be very welcome to those beginners that have struggled with the instructions in the past, because it should be all very clear now what you need to do. But of course, I am here to do alternatives, so I'm going to just set that aside. I will not be doing the create with the instructions, and I will be jumping right into alternative mode, and you will see me back here in a jiffy with some alternatives. I will, of course, as always, if I see some parts and pieces that need explanation, or I'm coming up with some supplies as I go and I want to talk about them or offer any tips or tricks, I will be back in the interim before I share the alternatives. So stay tuned. All right, I thought that I would come back and do some simple stamping, and before I do the simple stamping, I wanted to grab a couple of additional ink colors to complement the Night of Navy. So the coordinating colors for this kit are Bumblebee, Night of Navy, Pacific Point, Real Red, Smoky Slate, Soft Suede, and White. So I have already pulled out the Bumblebee and Real Red. If you don't have Bumblebee, the Crushed Curry is a very close. It's a little bit brighter, not as much gray in it as the Bumblebee, but it will also work if you just haven't got a lot of colors to choose from, but perhaps you have some of the traditional colors. And then Smoky Slate is a good one, and you could use, if you don't have all the grays, you could substitute either black or basic gray as well. Pacific Point is the brighter blue than the navy blue. So here's my Pacific Point. I don't think I will use all those, but I just pulled a couple of them out. And it's not often that I feel I need to use the added colors, but I thought it would be fun to just show what that would look like with stamping some basic cards that are just stamped with the provided stamps that we get. So I have some Whisper White that I am still using up. I will be using this up for a while. And I think that you can always do, I like the "You're the best" to just send a nice message to somebody. I think for this kit, I will probably find a happy birthday to use because that's one of like the most common sentiments used, as well as will go really well with this kit because it will be good for children and good masculine for sports fans. So let's, this is the first time this has been inked, and so sometimes you get some splotching. We'll see if it goes on true. So that is the most basic stamping you can do. Can't go wrong with that. I will let that dry because it's pretty juicy. There's a whole bunch of words. I'm gonna add the bat and the hat. I have these extra paper pumpkin blocks that I don't think they're available anymore, but years ago as a demonstrator I was able to buy them. So I collected a few to have, and of all things, they're the ones I use the most. So one of the things you can do with all of the words is we'll pick friend. I should clean this off. This is where my chamois comes in handy, but you can also, if you don't have a chamois, use a wet paper towel. All right. So this is now dry. And I just want to add the word friend, where you could put any of the single words for family members. And there's the You're the Best Friend. It's a basic font. And now I thought it would be fun to go ahead and, if we've got some colors. Now, one of those coordinating colors that they didn't talk about was the color of the bat. They don't have, oh, they have soft suede. So I'm going to get soft suede out to use with the bat. Soft suede. Okay. And I'm going to do my trick of an all-over background by rotating, making sure that my images go off the page, at least at some point in a couple of places on the paper. That it gives it a more natural look. And trying not to have any of them be going straight. I want to leave space for a sentiment, so I like that bat right there, so I'm going to leave this space open for a sentiment, but you could leave a space open at any part that you like. I'm going to leave those bats like that. I only have one full bat, but I think that that gives the intent. And I'm now going to pick the word All-Star. I'm going to use All-Star in the Night of Navy. Now, I always like to put the color name, because when these are all darks, you know, yes, I can tell this is brown and I can tell this is blue, but I still highly recommend that you always add the color. You do have, this is the color number on the one side, and then you have another piece of paper on the back side. So you could always just add your own little, this is a pencil, so it might not be as good as a pen here. I've got a pen right here. And I'm just going to do so that says Night of Navy. Something like that, so you keep your inks all separate. I was just thinking the other day when I've done so many paper pumpkins that I have now multiple Night of Navies, and yes, every single kit that I get, I open that kit's ink, close it back up, and put it in storage. So I could probably not do that, but I've always thought it's good to test the actual ink that was provided, and they've always been like that, very, very juicy. And I don't want to use my own Night of Navy or whatever color it is, because mine get used so much they're not as inky, and I want people to see what quality of ink you're going to get. So that is why, if you've ever wondered why is she opening her ink spots every month, it's so that I can show the good quality ink that you get. I'm going to make the hat red. It's also kind of dark, even though it's sunny. We're positioned so that the sun actually is behind me. So it's dark enough that I actually put a light on today. So this color, just like the soft suede, these are my inks, and they are well loved, well used. So if you notice them not being quite as dark as the blue, that would be why. Oh, okay, so there's a mistake in my opinion. No, probably nobody will notice it but me. I made this hat and this hat going about the same direction, and I did not want that. And yes, I might have actually let that happen so you could see what that looks like. And then when I do the final reveal of these, you can decide for yourself if that is a problem or not. But that's why I rotate my paper like a quarter turn every stamp, to try to keep it very random. All right, so I really like this. There is a full background stamped image. All right, and let's turn this one over and do something different. So now we have the "You Are the Greatest of All Time." I need to clean something off. I'll just go ahead and do this in the Night of Navy, as I know that it will look the best with this very thick surface that's getting inked up. So again, this is a fresh stamp, never been inked, and I'm watching the ink and I saw that the ink, notice that this one, that was the fresh ink. That's what we're looking for. But when you have these really wide stamps, you're going to get some modeling going on. And you have some choices. In this case, I'm leaving it. I'm happy with it. Of course, I would prefer the All-Star. And I tried my hardest to make sure this was well inked. And this is how it came out. But I still feel that it is perfectly givable and nobody will judge. Now, if you wanted to, and you had the markers, like the Mini Marvelous markers, you can go in and fill in more of the splotches if you wanted it. If you have the tool called the Stamparatus, which many starting stampers might not have, but if you had the tool, when you see a stamp like this, probably the best course of action is to use the Stamparatus so that you can do repeat stampings till it's as solid as you like it. So those are my tips for that. This is a little bit crooked, so if I were to be using this and it is a little bit crooked and it really bothered me, what I would do is get my trimmer out and trim angled to match the angle of the stamp, and put this as have it like a white mat behind it. Unless I had colored cardstock, then I could trim it down as small as I would want and put it on colored cardstock to deal with that. And let's see, what have we got? Now I'm wondering if they envisioned I was going to try to with this stamp, just for fun. I've got the word sun, and I am just curious what it would look like if I nestled the word sun like that. So you could take any of these words and mix the relative name or the word friend. Another fun thing that you could do is, if we've got the word sun, I could also, to make it very clear what I'm talking about, I like to stamp at angles. And in this case, I am not stamping off where I stamp repeatedly. I'm making it fresh because I want it nice and dark. But you could have it be looking more like a gradient. Now I'm purposely going to do some edge stamping to again give it that more realistic look. So that is also a really fun thing you could do. Let's see, and I think that might be, I could do the back of this in some way. So I've got an angled, I've added the word for the relative for the "you're the greatest son of all time," "you're the best friend," did an all-around background, and then let's see, one more. And then we will move on to the alternatives. I don't often do the simple stamping, so I try to make myself do the simple stamping here and there to give people ideas of how to think through just using the stamps on cardstock. I want to show you the stamping off, what stamping off looks like. So that's what stamping off looks like, and because this is a fresh ink pad, it's doing an awesome job. That is a very nice stamped off. And I huffed on it because I want to try to get one more. There you go. So now we have 4 simple stamping projects examples. And I will go away now. I'm going to show those others because I think I might have had them off the camera a little bit. Alright, so now I'm going to go away and get to work on the alternatives, and I'll be back. Hey, I am back to share some supplemental supplies that are possibilities for you to use with this kit. I went with more simple, clean lines items, and a lot of them are from the new catalog, which you may have not have seen them yet. So for the happy birthday I told you I mentioned I was going to dig out, I chose the Biggest Wish stamp set. I actually stamped up a happy birthday with the Knight of Navy. I will say for the birthday, I got out my Mini Marvelous marker in navy and did a little spot cleanup on it. And the happy, for whatever reason, this is the first time each of these have been used, the happy came out absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. And then I did stamp one on accident. I grabbed my Knight of Navy, which is very worn, and it does not, with these solid stamps, it would need to be re-inked to do a good job. So again, just reiterating why when I demo and do my alternatives, I do use the fresh spot every time so you can see the quality of your stamping that you will get. So the Biggest Wish has both cursive and tall caps. I just did a happy birthday in the tall caps for the alternatives. I did not use, but thought a wish for everything would be good because there's all sorts of words here that would be appropriate, and it even has a whole bunch of phrases that you can consider. So pretty much a wish for everything is a good one to use on any of these paper pumpkin kits. And then because I had it by, I did do a happy birthday and a hello, and I even did it in with my older ink. This is not well inked. It still does a great job of doing thin lines. I tried to do a red with the happy. After I did this blue one, I tried a red one, and it would have needed a lot of work, or I could have got my re-inkers out. Okay, so that's for stamps. Now for embossing folders and solid cardstock, I brought out these 5 colors and I embossed them all. This Smoky Slate is Tasteful Textile, which is a returning. Bark is brand new, and this is actually the card front with the wood grain, which is very faint, but you can see it if you look closely at the bark. I did dots and checks. When I did the dots and checks on the checks, I knew I needed to make the square to be the opposite, and you can see where I did not. And so when I use this, I will have to put something to distract from that. I could make it a horizontal. This is from the envelope flap. I just am grabbing the nearest stuff I have. So, you know, in this case, you don't see it. And I just made a nice, easy alternative. Okay, the dots. So it's checks and dots. So for the checks, or the dots, I just went ahead and centered and did the dots, but you could have offset the dots, like on the blue one here, and done a full sheet of the dots. I then picked the thanks and hello, and I duplicated it in the center and in the center, and right here in the middle you can see where they're a little bit close, and I actually needed to trim off a little bit on the bottom. So had I centered a little bit better the very first one, down maybe an 1/8 of an inch, this would have been perfect. But how I plan to use this, see the word thanks here? I am going to use this die cut and put something cool like "You are the greatest son of all time," and then whether or not he figures out, the son figures out that the word thanks is what this is pointing to, I don't know, but I just thought it was really clever. So that is how that was going to get used. The last bit, that's all for the supplies, and I still have the trim and the dots that I'm going to use, so I do not think I'm going to need any additional embellishing at all. And because these are for the most part masculine cards, I won't have to doll them up or make them really fancy. So you will see my alternative showcase will be full of more casual level cards rather than avid. And then the last thing I wanted to share was the different edging that you can use on edging treatments. So in this case, I actually grabbed, and the reason why this is one that I did the simple stamping earlier, and I had sun going diagonally, and when I cut it, the little edge of the word sun was over here, and I thought I'm going to grab my corner rounder, and that is the punch that I used. It is an old punch. It's been around for years. Here's what it looks like. It does 3 different corner treatments, and I used the corner rounder. Then I grabbed a sponge and went ahead and sponged the edges on these two. I wanted to also show that you can, I'm going to have to find my trimmers. Here they are. I'm going to show you how to do fishtail banners and fishtail sentiments. So if I want this to be a fishtail on the bottom, how I do it is cut in the center to about the height I want, and then I start at the corner, cut to the center, start at the corner, cut to the center, and in this case I have a little bit left, and you can see I'm going to just snip it and off it'll come. So that's how you do a fishtail. I have this happy birthday, and I'm going to show you how to do the edges of a sentiment. I do this all the time. I do this way more than I take out a die cut or use a punch. It takes a little bit to get the trick. If you have any other tips on how to do fishtails, go ahead and share them with me. I love to post all varieties of ways of doing things. So there is a fishtail happy birthday. And then if you grab big scissors or a knife, I would not use these. I'm going to show you how you can quickly rough up the edges. I'm looking for my big I lost my middle-size scissors, so now I have giant shears in my drawer. Someday I will find them. They're probably down behind my shelving unit. All right, so if I wanted to rough up the edges of something, let's take the You're in a League of Your Own. And of course this is hard because they're so big. This had the blue, and so I can go back across with more blue, or I could leave this white edge showing if I wanted. Remember that the purpose for doing the sponging is if you're two whites between, if you use Whisper White, which is a more creamy white, you will have some differences in the white when you layer them together on the card base cardstock that you get. Basic white is a little bit more cool white or gray white, so it is a closer match, and you won't have to do as much work to eliminate the difference in the colors. So that's a very nice roughed up edge. Let's show you what that looks like. So if that's what you're looking for, is something a little distressed, notice that in all of these die cuts there's some distressing already, so distressing the edges would be a really good way to dress up your card without a lot of effort and without added materials. So I am going to go away now. I'm going to take a bunch of pictures of the various layouts that I have, and I will come back and actually share some of them with you and talk about them, and then I'll call this one done. It's a good kit. I actually like it. I have not found that, you know, I'm much better with like the prettier kits, but I'm not finding that this is going to be a huge challenge. I've put together some really simple layouts, which were not difficult to plan, and trying to find matching supplies to coordinate has not been difficult at all. So I'll come back to do a final mix and match before I put out my showcase. All right, I'm on my last segment here. I'm going to do a couple of mixes and matches, as well as talk about a couple of tips that I came up with along the way. So I'm working on this red dotted background, making some designs, and I stopped here to let you guys see that the word all-star, I think, could be used for like an extra message, and I would say you could put any of like hello, happy birthday, thank you. So there's one happy birthday. Here's a hello. I was finding that with the really fat text that I liked putting things at angles. That's why this all-star is at an angle. And it also then kind of coordinates with the baseball and the bat hitting at an angle as well. Here's a red happy birthday. What I like with the trim, if you're struggling with trim because you don't want a bow. Now I did make a bow and used it on a couple of the showcase pictures, but I like a more masculine solution to the trim is to just, I crisscross it. And I crisscrossed it on a couple of different background and layer pieces. So that is a really good use of this trim if you're just like, I cannot envision this having bows. I couldn't get into the, you can do the figure 8. I'm making it now. You can't see it, but I am. So if you make, and you have this figure 8 and you tape it together, you can put it behind something like the all-star, and you just have some messy trim sticking out. So that's another possibility. But with these clean lines that I'm finding, I actually really like just wrapping, like at the top of this banner, I would just wrap some 3 crisscross lines at the top and call it good. So that is my suggestion on the trim. And these are all very mix and match. I definitely want to point out Friend and Ever for added words, especially the "You're the best." So I haven't planned this one, but I'm just going to stick it on there. And I just want to show you that you can see that it's fun to do. You are the best friend ever. And you can pop these up or not. You could even like do this. I really like that as an idea. And then you get rid of, you know, in any of these, you can either use the baseball elements or just not, and instead substitute in the generic shapes. You can either cut your shapes. I've seen, since I've started to do this, actually on the instructions it shows somebody die cutting in circles, this shape, and then these, as well as these lines. So you could go ahead and die cut shapes if you want. I do really like the distressing of the edges. This was the only one that I did, and I took some shots with it. And let's just throw this on here. And I still like, I just want to show how universal the Friend is, like I showed how the Ever is. So you could just put that down, and then this could all be straight lines. And these, I already took the showcase shots, so these pictures that you're seeing now are actually not going to be in the showcase because I'm already done. And I already can tell I'm not doing layouts that I did in the photography. But that gives you even more. I made, I think, around 20 different layouts, and then these are just bonus layouts for you. My idea with making so many layouts, if you wonder, is I just want to be able to spark your creativity, and who knows which layout that I'm doing that ends up giving you that urge to create that particular thing. So that is why I mix and match so much. I know I don't have to, I just really like it. I'm trying to do a value add here to people who watch my videos. And let's see, I wanted to see if there's anything else here. So like this layout also works really well with, oh, and this is I have dimensionals on the back side so that I can move around and don't have to put dimensionals on everything. It allows me to do my pop-ups for you. Like this one, if I have All-Star down like here, I could do Happy Birthday All-Star. So there's just all sorts of ways that I can see generating cards. So I think I am done. As I said, I have at least 20 photos, all layouts done, ready to go. They will be at the end. I do, as I said, I like this kit. It isn't, you know, my typical kit. These kits usually end up being something I enjoy. Like the ice cream last month had shaped card bases, which I've never seen, and so it wasn't the norm, and it wasn't like a pretty set, but it was definitely fun, and I found that the supplies all intermix nicely, and it was easy to add just a few more supplies to really extend this kit. As I said, this makes 9 cards, and I believe that it can easily be extended. You can even cut, like I haven't even got into cutting these full sheets. There's 3 different designs, cutting those into pieces, and then I even have some remnant pieces when I trimmed down this one, which is also a really fun one that I had a good time making layouts for. I kept the pieces because I wanted to point out that these strips could also easily be integrated You could make a layered with the red. They have the distressing on them, and so don't throw away your little pieces, because those can easily be used as more interesting layers for your cards. Every little piece is usable. So that's all I've got. Please leave your questions, comments, and suggestions on this video or over on my blog. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel and share to your friends so you guys can all be extra creative on this month's Paper Pumpkin, especially if you're finding it challenging. I think that when you work with friends on these types of challenges, it makes it more fun, and then you can get a bunch of cards made. Maybe you make up your backgrounds and you make up some layers, but you don't stick them together. That's just an idea. I do that a lot, and especially on these Paper Pumpkins. And that way you make sure you get the most miles you can out of your kits. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.